So teaching has always been part of my being. I'm a helper by nature, and I like sharing my knowledge, but also I like finding clever ways to help someone understand a new subject. I'm a language geek, so languages are my primary topic of teaching, but I also like sciences in general, specifically maths primarily, so I used to tutor people in maths as well. My career is a little bit bizarre, to say the very least. When I was young, I wanted to be either a dancer or an English teacher. Then I realised that dancing was really not for me as a potential career, but I still did it for 10 years for fun as an amateur dancer, and it was an incredible experience. Then, while I was in secondary school, I fell in love with acting. I've always been a performer, so my dream was to become a performer. By that point, I didn't want to be an English teacher anymore because I wanted to focus on performing, but teaching was always with me. And so when I moved to London to study acting, I still kept teaching here and there, privately, unofficially, and like every performer, after I graduated, I had to become a waiter, and after years of being a waiter, which is just not, for me, it's not a job that I particularly enjoy, I decided to get a qualification as a teacher of English as a foreign language, because again, I was teaching privately on the side, but I didn't really have a qualification other than the fact that I studied languages in secondary school. So I saved up and I got my English qualification, which means that I technically can teach in more or less all English language schools. I can't teach in a normal secondary school. It has to be English as a foreign language. It's not about literature or English culture. My plan was not to teach in a school anyway, because I was a performer and I needed the flexibility, and as much as I love teaching, it's not my primary passion, so I did not want to become involved and then potentially stuck in an institution. So my goal was always to keep teaching privately. There are a lot of websites that you can use as a teacher, and basically you create a profile where you write your area of expertise. I specialise in pronunciation, and you give your own rate, your own times, and people online can choose whether they want to study with you or not. So it's very flexible. You are your own boss, basically. So that was my goal. So even after I got my qualification, I still had to be not a waiter, but I still had to work in hospitality, in a different kind of hospitality, doing fine dining and things like that, because obviously it took a while for my teaching career to actually take off in this unusual way. It would have been much easier to just go to a school. However, Asia. There are several of them. I have CELTA, which is the most widely recognised and known as far as I can tell. But they also want you to have a degree. Now, this degree doesn't have to be in English or in anything related to languages at all. It can be a degree in knitting, I don't know. But they want to see that you have a degree. Now, because I don't have any random degree, actually it would have been very hard for me to be hired by a school, because if they have any kind of checks from the government, all the teachers need to have a degree, so it would have been a little bit difficult. I could work in a summer school for just 2 months, which was amazing, but I don't think I could have done much more than that, and I think the only reason why I was allowed to work there was that that school started that year that they hired me. I was straight out of my qualification course, and they needed teachers, so I think that's the only reason why I managed to get away with it. Because if you want to be an accredited school, you must make sure that all your teachers and all your staff have, again, any kind of degree in any kind of subject, which is, I don't know, I do understand the fact that they want to make sure that their teachers have been in a sort of academic environment for at least 3 years. I understand that. But given the fact that the degree doesn't have to be related to languages, I don't particularly understand the need for it. But it is what it is, unfortunately. So working in a school was not an option for many reasons, but I managed to find private clients on these websites, and also I started small in-person group lessons here in London on a Saturday. I used to do 2 hours of pronunciation and then 2 hours of grammar, and people could come to just one of the classes if they wanted to, but they could also do both, and it was great to see that a lot of people did come to both. So it was 4 hours on a Saturday, late morning, early afternoon, and I've only ever taught adults. I don't like children in general, and I don't like teaching them, so I focus as a teacher on English as a foreign language for adults. So these adults would pay me, so they could be there with me on a Saturday morning for 4 hours, which was very rewarding and fulfilling to know that people were willing to invest their weekend and their money in my lessons. After a few years I had to end those lessons because I was becoming a little bit frustrated with the fact that these people were not really giving me much. I'm a language teacher, so I need my students to talk to me, otherwise I can't correct their mistakes, I can't improve their English, and especially as adults, I was expecting them to give me the best that they could and to be proactive in how much they wanted to talk. So obviously, I could help them more, but it wasn't always the case. So after a few years I had to stop because it was getting to me, and then COVID hit, so it was the perfect timing for it. After that I found different websites. So at the very beginning to teach their clients that they found somehow. So thanks to those kinds of websites, I managed to go full time, so I could finally quit hospitality and become a full-time teacher online, which was perfect because even when COVID hit, I was lucky enough to be able to keep working because actually I was busier than ever because my clients were at home doing nothing. So I was exhausted. I know that everyone was complaining about the fact that they were getting bored at home because they couldn't physically go to work, but I was exhausted. I was shattered, all for the greater good. But I had a very different experience of COVID from a lot of other people. Then during COVID, I started my YouTube channel. I had wanted to start a channel for years, potentially 10 years, but although I didn't really know how YouTube worked, I assumed that that would be a full-time job on top of my normal full-time job, and also I knew that the competition out there was fierce, because there were and there are a lot of English channels out there. Also, I don't like teaching beginners. I teach advanced English through mathematical logic. Let me explain. Also, I apologise for keeping pausing and cutting, but all sorts of noises are going on at the moment. I don't know what's happening, and I hope you can't hear them, but that's why I always have to stop. Now, going back to teaching advanced English through mathematical logic. In secondary school, I was studying languages. I studied English, which is not my first language because it's Italian. I studied German, Spanish, and Latin, but nobody speaks it. And while I was doing that, I actually fell in love with maths, and funnily enough, I got into maths at university. I then became an actor, and if you've watched my channel before, you know that I am now a singing drag queen. So my career choices have always been, varied and, well, very different from what I originally set out English channel turned 3 years old. And yesterday for me, so last week for you when you're watching this, I decided to end my channel. The reason is a little bit sad. It's not because I fell out of love with English or teaching or the language learning process. The problem is that because of the content of what I teach, which is very niche and very, well, not mainstream, because not many people want to learn English the way I teach it, it never really brought me any money. I might make a video in the future to explain how YouTube works and how you get monetized and how you can make money, but basically you need to reach 4,000 watch hours within a year, and in order to reach that it took me 2.5 years, because my content is so advanced and so mentally challenging that it's not bingeable, and I've always known that. I just didn't expect it to take so long, and after I got monetized in October, I knew that I was never going to make millions, because again, it's a tricky channel to watch, but I wasn't ready for how little money I was making. I was basically making, and I still am making, £20 a month. And for me, creating a video is a very long process because it takes me around 5 hours to come up with a script. I teach very advanced English, so everything that I say is very heavily scripted, and then I have to shoot it, I have to edit it, and I have to promote it. So after 3 years with a heavy heart, I decided to end it because it's just not worth all the time and mental effort that I put into it. I stand by the content, I am very proud of it, it's just not very YouTubeable, and so now I can focus on ASMR and other potential avenues that I can explore, because now I have the mental freedom and also the time to think of other things that I can do. But something happened 2 weeks ago. Here in England, it's time for GCSEs, which are a series of exams in secondary school. And so my first language is Italian, although I don't really speak it here in England, and I'm not very comfortable speaking it because as a language geek I really do love English, and I immerse myself into it as much as I can, to the point where I am more comfortable speaking English than Italian. But a guy that I know from a dance group that I'm a part of is a music teacher in this school, and he told me that his school was looking for a native Italian speaker to be an examiner years since I graduated from my secondary school, and the student was very, very nice, and we had a very nice chat beforehand. And during the exam, obviously, we had specific tasks that we had to adhere to, so there wasn't much room for general conversation to begin with, but then we did have a section where we just talked about general life and general plans and ideas for the future. And this guy must have been 16, 17, and it was really nice to see that we had a lot in common. Actually, he wants to study music. I think he's already studying music and piano privately, obviously, and he likes sciences, maths and physics, just like me. So it was really nice to see that, I had so much in common with a student that I randomly met for an exam. And because I don't teach children or teenagers, because I don't find it to be my calling, because I don't want to have to focus on entertaining students or trying to grab and keep their attention. So I'm not involved with young people, but it was nice and very refreshing and very, well, it gave me a lot of hope to see that a young man like himself had a lot of real concrete plans and wishes and dreams for the future, just like I did, because I wanted to become an actor. It doesn't mean that these things will actually happen, unfortunately. Again, look at my career. I'm very happy being a singing drag queen because I'm still a performer, and in hindsight, I mean, I'm a much better singer than I am an actor. But I went from wanting to be a mathematician to then being a singing drag queen who whispers on YouTube. So, you need to be ready for whatever life throws at you. But yes, it gave me a lot of positive energy and positive hope to see that there are young people that really do want to do something with their lives. And so yes, that was my experience